Today you will learn how to access military tools as a developer to extend geospatial capabilities for your organization. I now turn over the webinar to Lyle and Patrick. Thank you for attending.
Thanks, Fred. So Patrick and I want to start off by explaining to you where we're from. And we work for a part of Esri called Defense Solutions. Our job is to support our defense, our intelligence, and our national security industries. And we do this by creating fully documented and maintained, fully supported, open source solutions. These solutions can include maps, apps, Python scripts, custom configurations that empower our users to work on the focused workflows that fit their needs. So those people within our community are the CI and human analysts, the intelligence analysts, the operation decision makers, the geospatial analysts, the planners. These people are the ones that need to use the ArcGIS platform to empower their workflows to solve their needs. So we work with them to create products. We have a new product called Military Tools for ArcGIS. And this is our vehicle to allow our users to have simple, accessible tools that are fully supported, mission-focused, that are essential to our defense and intelligence geospatial users to allow them to finish or complete their mission workflows. And we do this by giving them this in an open source format. So it doesn't matter who you are, you can go out and you can get these and start utilizing these workflows. Today what we want to focus on is how we do this, how we give these products to you as developers. So the Military Tools for ArcGIS product is made up of 4 major components. The first component is converting coordinates. I would use coordinate conversion. If I'm drawing graphics and I'm trying to measure between 2 locations, I would use distance and direction. If I want to create a radial line of sight or a linear line of sight, I would use the visibility analysis tools. And then if I want to work with military symbology and make custom military symbology using the 2525B change to or D standard, I would use the military symbol editor. So all of these components allow us to have interactive workflows that support the multiple defense workflows that we've identified as those most crucial. We also want to focus on getting these tools to you in the location where you need them. We want to support the entire ArcGIS platform. So we do this by making these tools available in ArcMap. And we support versions 10.3.1 through 10.5. We also have these tools in ArcGIS Pro 1.4. And for you users that have moved to the web, using Web App Builder Developer Edition 2.2, we've allowed these tools to now be widgets, or some of these tools to be made as widgets to allow you to conduct some of the same analysis you would on the desktop, now on the web. We want to empower our users, no matter who they are, to create and utilize these focus workflows to fit their needs. So that's a little bit about the tools and about us. Let's start looking at these actual products. So we'll start in ArcGIS Pro. And we have coordinate conversion, distance direction, the military symbol editor, and visibility. These are all components or tools that live on an add-in toolbar that allows you to access all this stuff for military tools. So these same components are available in ArcMap. We have coordinate conversion, distance and direction, and visibility. The one thing you will notice is the military symbol editor is not an ArcMap. That workflow is something that we've used some of the advances in ArcGIS Pro to support some of these custom configurations using dictionary renderer and creating StyleX files to allow our customers to create easy military applications or military symbols. So that's a basic look, the basic feel of what military tools is. We're not going to get into walking through the presentations of this. If you want to see these things in action, you would want to go to one of the other webinars and see the things that have been recorded or possibly upcoming. What we do want to do is we want to show you how you would find these. So if I was to start from scratch, the first thing I would do is I would start from solutions.arcgis.com and look for military tools for ArcGIS. So this website allows you to download the tool. If you want to just download the zip file, you can download that, and everything's built. That's our pre-built solution. If you're in an part of the organization that needs to have a DVD that has to be scanned, we can send you a DVD to anywhere in the 50 United States or to any APO address. But if you're a developer and you want to get to the code, you would access that by coming to this GitHub link. This GitHub link is going to show you all the different repositories that are available for this solution. We also have this topic in Military Tools for ArcGIS in GitHub. And this topic here allows us to then give you a structured format of what is made up of military tools. So we have coordinate conversion, distance to direction, the geoprocessing toolbox, the symbol editor, the add-in itself, and the visibility add-in. So that's just a basic understanding of what's available there. So what we want to do now is we want to look at what is it that we need to get started. So if you're a developer and you want to start using this product, you would look at downloading ArcMap, ArcObjects SDK for Microsoft with a framework of 10.3.1. If you're using ArcGIS Pro, you would use the ArcGIS Pro 1.4 SDK. And if you were doing the widgets, what we'll not cover today, you would need the Web App Builder version 2.2 Developer Edition and the JavaScript 3.2 API. So that gives you a basic background of this. Let's switch over to Patrick, and Patrick can walk through and show us some of the code itself.
All right. So now we've downloaded all of our SDKs and installed them. What's the next step? Well, first place we want to go is to GitHub and get the source code for whichever repository that we're working in. Today we're going to work in the distance and direction add-in. So I go to the repository, and the first thing I want to do is fork the repository. Now the reason why we fork the repository is it allows us to make changes. It makes a copy of the parent repository and allows us to make changes without affecting the original code. So the way we do that is we go to fork, we choose a location, and simply let it fork. So it'll take a few seconds. And now that I'm forked, it brings us GitHub brings us to the web endpoint for our forked repository. Next step is we want to get the source code from the repository, and we do this by cloning or downloading the source. So I'm going to clone the source code. I'm going to simply hit clone. I use GitHub for Windows, and that's going to open up. There's GitHub for Windows, and it brings me to a browser so I can choose a location for my source code. Choose a location, select OK, and it'll take a few seconds to download all of the source code to that location. And now we see in GitHub for Windows, we see that on the left-hand side in the table of contents, we have an item for distance and direction, so that's my repository. And the next thing we want to do is let's go to Visual Studio and build the source code. Before we make any changes, we always want to build the source code. So I'm going to open up the source that I just downloaded. Open up the solution. And now that it's open, I want to build. And I simply choose Build, Build Solution. One of the things that Visual Studio does when you build an add-in project is that it automatically deploys the add-in to ArcGIS Pro or ArcMap. So the build was successful, so now I'm going to open up Pro. And we'll take a look at the distance and direction tool. Open up a project. Now if I go to my Project tab and go to the Add-in Manager, I'll see that the distance and direction add-in has been automatically deployed for me. I can also see I have in the ribbon, I have an add-in tab, and I'll see the distance and direction tool there as well. So I can click on that, and let's just do a quick test to make sure that everything looks good. I'm going to create a line, and it looks good. So now you've seen how we can build and deploy an add-in in ArcGIS. And now back to Lyle.
So now that you've seen some of this code in action, what we want to do is we want to allow you to understand how you can change or share your ideas with us. So we saw Patrick working in the distance and direction add-in, and in this repository we have all access to the code, the descriptions, and all the information about this particular component. What I want to do is I want to track the issues. I want to just come in here and say, is there an issue that has my name on it? Or let's say that it wants to change title, because I want it to change something. So I don't see anything in this repository that essentially, or this issue list that identifies a changing of the title. So what I want to do is I just want to create a new issue, and that new issue is going to allow Patrick to understand what I want. So I want to say change the tool tip and tooltip information. So can we I can start to identify things that are issues. Now this is something very simple. We're just trying to show you the idea behind how we would work and how we would share these ideas. And I could submit this, and this now becomes an issue that can be seen by everybody. The next thing I could do is I could use labels in here to label what type of issue this is. So I would identify this as an enhancement, and now that enhancement tab comes up, or label comes up. If this is a bug, I can also identify this as a bug, which it's not. So from here, this is going to allow Patrick to understand that there's something that I wanted to be changed or enhanced to allow my workflow to be supported. So let's go back to Patrick and let's see what magic he can make in changing the description.
Thanks, Lyle. So now we're going to make some changes to the code. So first I want to look in my issues and see if I have any open issues for me. And I see right at the top I have change the tooltip information. So I'll go to the issue, and I'm going to make note of the issue number. That's number 353, and you'll see why in just a second. So it says that I need to include Lyle's name in the description on the tooltip. So how do we make the changes to do this? So the first place I want to go is back to GitHub for Windows. And first thing I want to do is whenever we work on an issue or a new component, we want to put it in its own branch. A branch is just a copy of the parent repository, and we do all of our work in branches, and then we can merge those branches back up to the parent. So to create a new branch, I simply select the Create New Branch button right here. And I took note that the issue number was 353. I use as a naming convention the issue number and my initials. That way everybody knows who's working on what issue. Simply click Create New Branch. Branch is created, and it automatically takes me to my branch. Then I want to publish the branch. Publishing pushes the branch up to GitHub for GitHub in the web, so it can be seen in the web. It'll just take a few seconds to publish. There we go. And now that we've published the branch, we can start making some code changes. So let's go back to Visual Studio. So here in Visual Studio, I know I need to make a change to the tooltip. The location, all of the tooltip changes can be found in the config.daml file. Config.daml provides configuration information for pro add-ins. And if I look down a little bit, I'll see the tooltip is right here. The tooltip heading reads distance and direction. I'm just going to make a minor change it to Lyle's distance and direction tool, save my changes, and build. And actually, I'm going to build that again because one of the things you have to do is close ArcGIS Pro every time you build, otherwise the add-in won't deploy. So let me just rebuild that. Give it a few seconds. Build was successful. Now let's open up ArcGIS Pro and see the changes in action. Open up a project. If we go to my add-in, now I'll hover over the distance and direction button, and now we see that the tooltip heading reads Lyle's distance and direction tool. So I'm happy with my changes. So the next step is to go back to GitHub for Windows and create a pull request. So now we see in the left-hand panel, we'll see that there's a change recorded. And if I click on that, I can see in the right-hand side, I can see the change that I made. So I've changed from distance and direction to Lyle's distance and direction tool. And now I want to commit the change. So I give the commit a name and a description. And click the check mark next to commit issue. And I've committed it. Next thing we want to do is sync the commit. Syncing pushes all of the open commits to the branch. Give it a few seconds. Okay, the sync is complete. And now I can create a pull request. So I simply select pull request up in the upper right-hand corner of GitHub for Windows. I see my commit is there, one that I just created, and I choose where I want to send my pull request. I'm going to push it to the dev head, and I select the check mark, send pull request, and it does it for me. And now I can go and view the pull request on GitHub. Now the pull request is ready to be merged by an administrator of the GitHub repo. So, Lyle, did you get that change?
Did. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Patrick. So what we want to do now is we want to kind of identify just kind of want to review what we just saw. So first thing is what you're looking at on the screen are all the different repositories that we have that make up military tools for ArcGIS. So each of the individual components for coordinate conversion, distance and direction, and visibility, they both have an ArcMap and an ArcGIS Pro component in that repository, but they're both stored in the same repository. Of course, the military symbol editor is only available for Pro, so that content only has Pro code in there. And then we also have the widgets and the toolbox, which we didn't show today. We'll show at future webinars. So what did you see first? The first thing you saw was Patrick forked the repository so he can use it within his organization and never connect to the internet or possibly never sync to changes. So if you want to utilize what we built inside your organization, but you don't care to share with the others what you've done, you can just fork that repository and just go on and start working. We also identified how we identify issues. So we have two different types of issues. We have just a basic issue or an enhancement that someone can log. We can also log questions in GitHub, and those come in under our issue list. And we also have the ability to take the information when you call tech support and you say, hey, we're having an issue with this particular component of this particular tool. That issue through tech support automatically becomes an issue on GitHub. So if you do want to track how we're supporting that particular issue that you've called from tech support, you can do so. If you don't want to do that and you want to just work through tech support, we're still going to come in here and comment and just track the way we worked. But we use issues to manage what we're working on and what's a priority. So anybody that we're supporting can see that at any time. So how do we work on those issues is we use this thought of branches. So you saw Patrick go in and create this branch. He made some changes to that branch, He then committed that branch back up to the parent repository or the parent branch, and then from there you can submit a pull request, and that pull request will be merged once that's been verified that works there. So those are the ideas of how we work inside of Defense Solutions. I think it's really critical so that you guys can understand how you can give us feedback. So now that you've kind of seen the way we work and you've seen some minor changes, what if we wanted to make a major enhancement to the product? How would we do that, Patrick?
Thanks, Lyle. So now we want to make some bigger changes. And so why don't I go to ArcGIS Pro? And first I want to show you some functionality in Pro that we're going to make some modifications to. So one of the features of Pro, or one of the features of the distance and direction in Pro, is that we can, any elements that we create, we can save to a shapefile, feature class, or KMZ. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So I'm just going to create a quick line, a distance and direction line, create it, and I simply choose Save As. I get a choice between feature class, shapefile, or KMZ. I'm going to choose feature class. Brings me to this browser. I'm going to save, give it a name, and choose Save. Let it run for a second. One of the things that distance and direction does is it automatically adds the feature class that you've saved to your contents. So let's take a look at that. So there's the feature class I just created. Let's open up the attribute table. Now we see in the attribute table that along with the regular feature class object ID, shape, and shape length fields, that we're also collecting the geodetic distance and the angle. But what if we wanted to add some attributes to this feature class? We might want to, for instance, we might want to get the origin and destination's XY values. I'm going to show you how to do that. Just close out of Pro real quick. I'm going to go back to Visual Studio. I'm going to open up a new project. Now, since we're making changes to a feature class, we want to go to the feature class utils class in ArcGIS Pro. Whoops. And so the location of that is in the Pro App Distance and Direction module, Models, Feature Class Utils. And the first thing we want to do is we want to prepare the feature class for to accept new attributes by adding new fields to the feature class. So I want to go to the Create Feature Class method. I'll scroll down a little bit, and here I've added 4 lines of code. And each of these lines of code adds a new field to the feature class. I'm going to add the 4 fields, origin X, origin Y, destination X, and destination Y. So save that. Next, I want to actually write attributes to the feature class. So I go to another method, create features. I'll zoom down a little bit again. And here I have some code that actually gets the values that I want to add to my feature class. So let's just run through the code real quick. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get the geometry from the element that I created. And since I'm working with lines, the geometry is of type polyline. And we know a polyline is created from points or vertices. So we want to get the list of vertices from the line here. And since we want to get the origin and destination, we know that the first vertex is the origin and the last vertex is the destination. So I loop through the points from my line, that I got from my line, and I get the first and last vertex for the origin and destination respectively. Lastly, I want to get the values for X and Y from the origin and destination, and that's what I do in this little block of code here. Finally, we need to write the values to the feature class. So in these 4 lines of code, I'm actually writing the respective value to the proper field in the feature class. So let's save that. Build. See what it looks like in Pro. I'm going to open up Pro again. The build was successful. Open my project. Let's go back to the distance and direction and quickly create another line. Choose Save As, Feature Class. Overwrite the feature class I just created a few minutes ago. Let it run. Go to the contents, it's finished running. Open up my feature class, attribute table. And now we see that we're getting the origin X and Y and the destination X and Y. So with relatively simple steps, a few simple steps, I've been able to extend the distance and direction tool. Back to you, Lyle.
So far, we have shown you how you can use military tools for ArcGIS within your own organization by forking the repository and making some changes for your own organization. We also have showed you how we work in Defense Solutions, managing our bugs, enhancements, using issues within each individual repository. And we just saw Patrick make some changes to the distance and direction add-in, showing some enhancements. So now what we want to show you is how can you use military tools for ArcGIS as a delivery mechanism within your own organization. Let's say you wrote a custom tool that you wanted to add to the military tools ribbon to allow your organization to utilize military tools and your custom workflows. We start off by looking at our ribbon, which has 4 essential tools currently on it. What we want to do is we want to take a look at the military tools desktop add-ins repository. This is the repository that has all the content that we need for the ribbon for military tools in ArcGIS Pro and the toolbar for military tools in ArcMap. So to allow this ribbon to work or this repository to work, we need to copy all of the source information for all the repositories to a particular location. We have a batch command or bat file that can do this using the get clone methods. Here are those methods. So I've already done this, and I've copied those to this particular folder here. What I also need to do is just copy my custom code, which is this, that same location, just so they're all in the same location. Now I'll go into the repository military tools desktop add-ins and access the solution for ArcGIS Pro. And what this is doing is compiling all of those projects into this one solution so I can take a look at this. So let's look at this demo file for military tools for ArcGIS. Just minimize some of this code and we can start to understand how it's structured in here. So first we have these different modules, and each of these modules is an insert module from the particular repository. So we have coordinate conversion, visibility, distance direction, symbol editor, and we have a location to insert our own custom modules. And then we have the ribbon module, which allows us to add the different buttons to the ribbon itself. So let's start off in Visual Studio by adding my project to the solution. We'll navigate to that location and add that project to my solution. Once that is added here, I'll go into my config demo file and I'll identify my insert module, which is here. Just copy this to the military tools insert module, and now my custom workflow, my custom item is there for the insert module. The last thing I need to do is just add my button to the ribbon. I pulled this out earlier, which is the code for my button. It's actually located in the insert module, but just to be quick, I put that here. So that's there as well. So now that all this information is there, what I want to just do is I want to build the solution. Takes a few minutes, or take some time to just build the solution. We have none succeeded, none failed. So now that that has succeeded, let's go ahead and launch that and see what that looks like in ArcGIS Pro. So launch this product, look at the military tools ribbon, and now we see our custom tool here added to the solution, and just have a basic pop-up that says, hey, your add-in has now been added. So that's a great way of how we add the our own projects to the military tools for ArcGIS ribbon to allow you to then use this product as a delivery mechanism for what you create. So what happened on the back end? Let's go ahead and look at the binary file in the bin where that military tools add-in X is. So if you did this and you were happy and satisfied with it, all you'd have to do is take this add-in X and you could deploy that within your organization, and it would allow you to then install that version of military tools for ArcGIS.
So with that, let's look at what's coming ahead for military tools. So currently you're looking at the first version of military tools. We released this in the first quarter of 2017. In the third quarter, we're going to release some enhancements. Those enhancements would be the batch coordinate conversion. That would allow us to take in text files, Excel files into the add-in, and then start to add some of your own, add in some of your own points as well. So doing batch coordinate conversion in the actual add-in itself. The thing we also want to do is we want to increase the notation format support throughout the entire product. So in the widget, in ArcMap, and ArcGIS Pro. We also want to improve our dark theme experience. We have two widgets that are going to be coming as additional tools. That would be the GRG widget or the gridded reference graphic widget, and then the grid overlay widget. Those are both going to come at the sometime in 2018. So this is basic information of how our road ahead is, but what I want to do is I want to make sure you guys understand that we need your help to understand what this product should be. So we've gotten the first version out the door, and we want to make sure that we're satisfying all those hard workflows that you find with ArcGIS, and share that information with us. So with that, we want to talk about the upcoming webinars. So currently we've had an overview webinar that was held in early February. We've also done a visibility for analysis webinar, and that's recorded and available on the same site that you access this webinar from. We're attending the add-ins for developers webinar now, and the other webinars that are coming up have the particular dates here. So if you're interested in distance direction, the widgets for web app developers, or even working with military symbols, we have the date there so you can sign up and attend those the same way you're attending today. And so how do you access the work? So military tools for ArcGIS is just one of the things that we do. We also create a lot of other different things, and we are a part of a group called Solutions, and we're just the defense team. There's also other teams that creates solutions for state and local government, emergency management, utilities, and telco. So I challenge you to go out and look at solutions at arcgis.com and see all the different solutions that we have available. Some of those things might fit some of the things or challenges that you're facing today. So that is all we have to share with you. Now what we'd like to do is open the floor for questions and try to answer some of these questions you have about what you saw today.
Well, Lyle and Patrick, thank you very much for your presentation. It was quite informative, and hopefully our audience got a lot out of it, and then we'll download those tools soon. I have a couple of questions here, or a few here anyway. One from Avi. It looks like it says here, I am able to make improvements to these add-ins and then submit a pull request to get them into the main repository. Or am I able to do that?
Yes, absolutely. It all depends on the functionality that you are are trying to build, if that functionality is something that we feel is something for the entire industry, that being defense, intel, and national security sectors, we can definitely look at what enhancement you're giving us and us trying to put that into our code. So Avi, thank you for your question, and we'll look forward to seeing your pull requests. Thank you, Avi.
So I have another question here from Christina. It says here, when will the widgets be updated for the Web App Builder 2.3?
Christina, great question. We have the upcoming webinar for widgets coming up, I believe, in April, and we'll go into some of that during that time. And we're currently testing our widgets at Web App Builder 2.3. We currently have our release versions at 2.2, so we will be releasing those as soon as we have tested and verified those all work with Web App 2.3.
This is all great, Lyle, but I have another question here. It says, where can I get military tools for ArcGIS?
So where you would get military tools for ArcGIS, I'm just going to go ahead and bring up that same website that we looked at earlier. So if I came here and I went to solutions.arcgis.com, under the defense we have a web page for military tools for ArcGIS, and this allows you to do a few things. Allows you to download the zip file of the product itself, allows you to get a DVD sent to you if you're within the 50 United States or an APO address, and you also can get the GitHub link to all the source code. And if you're looking, we also have a link out to this, the training of all the webinars here as well. So this is where you would find all the information that you need for military tools for ArcGIS.
Thanks, Lyle. I have another question here. It says here, who do I contact to request access to your repos on GitHub?
Oh, great question. So all of our repos are open. So as long as you have a GitHub account, you'll have the ability to do the forking and the branching and all that stuff. If you just want to go out there and look at that information, you can access the URL, and because they're open, you don't have to have a GitHub account. You can just download those without an account. But if you want to do the forking and start to manage your code in GitHub, you will need an account, but account is free through GitHub.
Great, thank you, Lyle. Can I download just one of the tools?
Yes, absolutely. So if we went back to the website where we looked at military tools for ArcGIS and we went to GitHub, each of these individual tools live in its own repository. So for instance, if we're looking at distance and direction, I would just come here and I would just say clone or download. And I could download the zip, or I could open in desktop if you have GitHub for Windows. But ideally, essentially, you would come to each individual repository to just get that necessary tool. If you want to understand exactly what that tool does, there's full documentation in the GitHub repository kind of telling you basic information on what it is, what are the features, what information you need for developers, and actually how to build the tool itself. So that information is all on GitHub for each individual repository.
I have another question here. Can I use military tools in ArcGIS Runtime SDK for .NET?
So I know some of the things that we have could be possibly utilized there, but I'm going to turn that question over to Patrick.
Yeah, so at this time, we're using the desktop developer. These are add-ins, and we're not supporting runtime at this time.
Looks like that's all the questions that we have. I'm going to give a moment here if any of our attendees want to type in another question. Anybody else? Oh, here we go. Is there a cost associated with a physical CD shipped inside the U.S. or to an APO?
You know, Nick, I don't believe so. I believe that we cover the shipping costs if you just ask for it. But you know what we can do, Nick, is if we can get your information and we can verify that. But from my understanding, that CD is free of cost to you.
As far as I know, Lyle, that is correct. There is no shipping cost. You just get a CD when you request it through the website there.
It's probably a DVD, but yeah.
Or a DVD, yes.
Well said, CD.
All right. I want to thank everyone for attending the seminar, or the webinar. We'll be posting the webinar video here shortly, and please fill out the survey at the end of this webinar when we close out. You all have a great day, and thank you for attending, and look forward to you attending the webinar on the 11th of April. Thank you.